NBI.com. This is John's Reports for the 13th. So nice Monday start. This is what it looked like on Friday's action on a 5K chart. So it was pretty tight, and you can see, you ended up with some decent momentum shifts, but then it just came right back. And they did that a couple more times until by midday it was just rally all the way into the close. But then you can see they just basically took all those call buyers and just reading them by, coming through, clearing out any stops that existed from at least the European and or Asian session. This was the Asian session. We can see the European session things modifying, of course, the Iran situation. No shock to us. We expected this, and it's not going to end. The Iranians see the advantage. They're going to go until the election, hoping that Trump is defeated in the midterms, party-wise, and then they invoke war powers. And I'm sure this is what Democrats have been telling Iranians for some time. So he's not just at war with them. He's also got his own political nightmare. You then had Lindsey Graham dying. McConnell somehow is recovering. He might be back. So they're already still down two from that situation. Whether or not there'll be a quick interim appointment or not, that'll be an interesting one. Clearly, there's going to be an election that will be relevant in that particular space. But, these are all the dynamics that are playing out. When we look at it from 50K, you can see that was pretty clean, nice ride up there. Then they just basically, fill it back in and test anyone all the way back down, clearing out all the way even to the Thursday mid-run. So all pretty clean stuff. Nothing happened with Bitcoin, nothing happening with gold either. You are losing a bit of that short attack interest, so that does mean that you're right at that 25 line post. So move a magenta and it gets back over there. That would be a significant push, and you're going to see that happen as soon as they start to record what the inflation values are, and that's why everyone's going to be turning to gold after they look at what takes place from a energy standpoint. And of course, everyone will be watching oil prices. The euro is still very excited because they're seeing that war is the future for their recovery. Without it, they're pretty much bankrupt. They've been bankrupt for some time. ECB can write money now. This gives them a new reason to write more money to justify that all of their economies are worse GDP debt ratios than the U.S. So this talk that the dollar is going anywhere, I would assume that Russia or China come out of it. But if you keep them in conflict with wars and stuff, it makes it hard for them to overcome that. And you can see oil, modest. I mean, the fact is that we'll see if the U.S. is strong enough to actually end an Iranian response and keep them from damaging any ships in the Strait of Hormuz. So that really becomes the criteria. If they're able to do that and degrade Iran's ability to do anything about it, and ships are then willing to actually take the risk to travel, another if. Though we did see, oil production, U.S. number one, and by quite a big margin. So is there enough time within that? We'll see. There's still elevated prices, still going to lead to inflation. So it's not a great situation, no matter how you look at it. It's better than it was, but that could change in a heartbeat if the Iranians are effective at, blowing up a bunch of ships or something. We'll see how it plays out. From an NQ standpoint, you can still see it's in its weakness. Right here, critical 25 level, if that magenta pivots lower, then I would expect the 50% to break, and we're going to move significantly lower on that. I think that the ES is what everyone's been riding off of, and it's still looking pretty healthy. So maybe enough to give it the support at the 50% if that does break down, but, that requires the ES to stay above that particular zone. You can see there was that rejection here of the dip below green, so not particularly helpful from a DOC readings that you have reached positive. So I like to say the iron is struck, so to speak, because once you move positive from a shakeout standpoint, any return back to negative is going to be more protracted than people often respect. So that's the long and the short of it to start the week. Let's get at it. Have a good one. Trade well.